Let's have a session on formal and informal training. So formal and informal training is about developing and improving the workplace skills of your staff. And as a result, because you've invested in training, it's likely to increase motivation and increase retention. That's staff retention. Now, formal training tends to be structured and tailored to specific learning outcomes. And it also tends to be outside the workplace. Examples of formal training is one could be a college or university course, or it could be some form of specific qualification. Now, the advantages of doing formal training, well, number one is that it involves no distractions because you are taken away from the workplace usually, so therefore you can focus on your specific learning outcome. Also, it's likely that you're trained by a paid expert because the business has paid for your training, your formal training. But the disadvantages of this is that number one, there is that cost, there is that training cost, and also beyond that, it could be that the course is very far away, so there could be extra transport costs or accommodation costs if it's a more than 1 day training course. Now, on the other side to formal training is informal training. Informal training is often completed on the job, and it tends to occur therefore in the workplace, and it's very practical based. Examples of informal training could be observations of your co-workers or demonstrations by your co-workers. Now, the advantages of informal training, it tends to be cheaper because you've not paid for the formal training. It also tends to mean that the workers are more productive in the short term because they haven't been removed from the workplace. They're still at the workplace. So after the observation, they might do a piece of whatever it is themselves. So therefore, they're productive in the short term. And thirdly, it could build team bonding or high morale because you're building those connections, those communications between the co-workers. But the disadvantages of informal training is one, the mentor's time is constrained because they're giving observations, they're giving demonstrations, maybe they're not actually doing the role that they should be doing, so they're not as productive, the mentors that is. And also it could be those mentors, they pass on bad practice. It could be they show shortcuts that aren't the exactly correct way that you should do it. Particularly in manufacturing, this could be a concern because it could lead to more defects. So it's worth thinking about the pros and the cons of formal and informal training, and I'll be seeing you on the next sesh.